You take a country in the global north, Germany. The pyramid of Germany and Kenya can create a square because they are exactly opposite. Germany with very aging population and very huge demand for labor. Kenya with a very youthful population and a very huge surplus on labor. And what we are trying to do in this globalization agenda, which we are undertaking as all of government, is, and that's where the president is coming from with his labor migration policy. How do we fit in this pyramid? It is very interesting if we were to look at that work by Frederick Norman. You fit into, if Germany and Kenya was to merge, we would create a very good country.
Well, you have heard him. That is a Kenyan official elaborating on the Kenya's migration policy of encouraging brain drainage, which is about to export 250,000 skilled manpower, young professionals to Germany. Hello, I am Mahlet Ayele, your host at Connect Africa, bringing you the latest from the continent. So the saga of exporting manpowers, it's not just manpower, a skilled manpower that countries have invested on, which they have, cost us, and they have to pay back their country. Before even they start to serve their country, these so-called developed countries are taking them, and our leaders are making agreement on behalf of us. That's really, really, that's outraging, I mean, which country is really those developed countries are encouraging brain drainage instead of all the African Union and African countries and many individual African leaders, what they are boasting about, and even when the Western countries talk about, or even the BRICS countries talk about that Africa is the future, Africa is the now. Without Africa, there's no development. One of the things that's mentioned is the manpower, the skilled manpower that many young population, more than 70% or 65% of the continent is a young population. Now leaders are making migration policy that that will make the people flee their country. I mean, don't get me wrong, people will migrate by any chance if there's no employment in the country, but to make the environment favorable, the condition favorable to your own people is the responsibility of the leaders, not to come up with some kind of encouraging migration policy and have brain drainage. This is something that the continent suffers for a long time, so it needs to be discouraged. Now let me go and quickly share with you the news. This was announced in last year, in fact, for the first time in May 2023, when the German president was, or the chancellor were paying a visit in Kenya. And, after that, in November, also in that reciprocating that the Kenyan government, William Ruto, left the country to Germany and other European countries to bring this agreement into final and to enter to practical to the implementation of it. Kenya is not the first country. Malawi also has done it. I came here and I reported about it. 220 Malawians have been sent to Israel to work in the farmland, as a result of the Thailand workers, the Thai people leaving Israel following, the conflict between Israel and Palestine. Well, the African countries send their citizens in that risk because they don't care, as simple as that. Yeah, so now allow me and share quickly this news with you, and I'll go through it quickly. Look at this. Okay, now this is announcing this. Now the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and President William Ruto addressing media at State House in May, on May 5, after holding bilateral talks. So now Kenyan President William Ruto has announced plans to send about 250,000 workers to Germany in a deal that could see European nation fill its huge labor needs, because the European countries are, the population is an aging population. They don't have manpower, skilled manpower. Instead of, creating those manufacturing companies and allowing our people to be creative and funding with their innovations and the startups, encouraging anything that will create employment in the African countries, you send your people outside just because you are hungry for foreign currency and remittances. That's what they are doing. Now, Ruto was addressing the press after the State House in Nairobi, along, the German chancellor. So this is what he said, meaning Ruto, in quotation: "We have agreed to establish a technical team from my office and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Labor in both countries to initiate discussion, expeditiously navigate the procedures and formulate an appropriate framework for the export labor to Germany." So now that's what Germany on their side also support, expand, and upgrade technical and vocational training institutions and centers of excellence in the country from 3 to 7 under a program that will see more Kenyan youth benefit and alleviate joblessness. Okay, I mean, for Germany to invest on education, vocational training is good thing that needs to be encouraged, but for you to take after that those skilled manpower to you is, I mean, to say the minimum, that's really selfish. Why not creating a job? So why not bringing your companies there and, employ your taxpayers, your investors, meaning the Germans, bringing them to Kenya, invest there, and then allow Kenyans to be recruited. And that will also alleviate unemployment, okay? That's the other way and the right way to address unemployment. How ridiculous. It's not really Germany, but it's Kenya, it's African leaders that are allowing to happen, this again and again. It's really a shame. Anyway, Ruto have been just a void guy. I mean, talking about Pan-Africanism on one hand and on the other hand, working with imperialists and the neo-colonialism agenda. So it's not surprising, but again, it needs to be called out. Now, I'm going to share with you an article that was shared just at the end of last year, which is really interesting. Now, this will give you a background on Kenya's and Germany relation, and also in general the migration policy of Kenya and also the African continent as a whole. I mean, to say the least, as this article calls it, this migration policy by Kenya is really absurd, encouraging a migration policy that will, the consequences of drainage, losing your skilled manpower, losing the manpower that you invested on, you paid, for the education of those people from childhood until they graduate, whatever level they are in the university. And you are sending those people and no guarantee they will return, and also no guarantee actually they will use legal remittance. Actually, I don't know if maybe Malawi is forcing, of course, those 220 workers in the farmland to send their salaries through a bank. I don't know if Kenya is doing that, but after sometimes they cannot be prisoners, they can do anything they want with their money. So I'm not sure that salary will be as a whole 100% paid through Kenyan banks. That's something that needs a detail on it. But in any case, this is what I want to share with you. Now, let me just give you a quick background. Now, Kenya has its largest export, by the way. It's not manpower. Actually, main export is from 2015 to 2022. The statistics shows that horticulture is the main thing, but there is tea as well and other items. Now, the statistics of tea, horticulture, and tea, Kenya's leading export items. And then in 2022 alone, the country earned over 163 billion Kenyan shilling from it. So that means 1.6 US dollars. Now, the horticulture export is 131 billion, which is 1.1 billion US dollar. I don't know, this added up how many Kenyan shilling or US dollars it's bringing by exporting your skilled manpower. Now, in terms of Germany and Kenya relationship, traditionally they have a very close relationship. And Germany is one of the first countries that recognized Kenya as a country, as an independent country after its independence in 1963. Now, let's talk about Kenya's export to Germany. Now, to Europe first, let's go the pyramid from general to specific. Now, to Europe, Kenya is a major exporter of tea, coffee, flowers, fruits, and vegetables to the European Union, which accounts 21% of its overall exports. Now, it buys machinery, pharmaceuticals, and other chemicals. In return, it imports these things from European Union. Now, when we talk about only its exports to Germany, the main products are again, it's cut flowers, coffee, and other nuts. Along the last 26 years, the export of Kenya to Germany have decreased to an annualized rate of 1.03%. That is from 195 million in 1995 to 149 million in 2021. So perhaps what they see an increase by sending your skilled manpower. Interesting. I want somebody to do the calculation, how many foreign currency you can get, or billions, whether it's in shilling or in dollars, Kenya would get, if it allowed a condition in the country that will allow to employ its skilled manpower in the country. Now, Kenya versus Germany, just geographically, this is the background. Now, this is what that official of Kenya is talking about. If Kenya and Germany are to merge, it will create a perfect combination. As what is lacking, for example, Germany is lacking a young population, and Kenya has a young, a big amount of young population. Now, Kenya covers geographically, an area of 580,000 square kilometers, making it around 1.6 times as big as Germany, okay? Now, yet Kenya has a much smaller population with only 54 million people compared to Germany, which is 84 million. That's the absurdity of it, because Germany has a bigger population than Kenya. What are you saying? And in terms of geography and land, Kenya has more bigger land than Germany, in which it will allow him to create, whether it's in agriculture or in terms of building, other infrastructure, technology, whatever, create a city that's full of technology. For many things, Kenya has more favorable condition to create employment than Germany. Now, in Germany, there are an average of 235 people per square kilometer, but in Kenya, there are only 93. Interesting, okay? Now, the current number of Kenyans in Germany are about 10,000 people. Actually, I don't know the total number of Kenyans outside Kenya or outside Africa, but Kenya is one of those countries, the least country in which its citizens will not ask asylum. They might go to with a skilled manpower or whatever to work, to be employed, but not really people who ask asylum and leave their country totally. That's really the minimum when it comes to Kenya. When it comes to Ethiopia, Nigeria, that's big. Now, reason for encouraging brain drainage is what, guess what it is? The yearly money from Kenyans in the diaspora is 400 billion shilling. Now, that's even more than what they get from the tea, coffee, and horticulture exports, the one I enumerated before in my earlier presentation. Now, this exodus of skilled labor and workforce has in the end seen an increase in earning by the various governments, with Kenya posting an increase in foreign remittance inflows. For example, when they compared June 2023 to June 2022, it has shown an increase of 6.1%. So that's the reason they are embarking on this. But again, there's another way of doing things in the right way. Now, the AU, let's talk about the AU migration statistics on this one. In its migration policy framework for Africa and plan of action, so AU says this: from 2018 to 2027, the AU argues that about 70,000 skilled workers leave the continent each year to look for better opportunities in foreign countries, unfortunately. Now, what is Africa's challenge is now, despite being one of the world's youngest continents in the world, with an estimated 10 to 12 million young Africans joining labor market each year, Africa can only create a job only for 3 million young people. That's the capacity of the continent right now. But to upgrade that is a responsibility of each and every country in the continent. Now, professional, skilled workers, and even athletes flee countries outside of Africa. Even athletes fleeing the continent continues to increase. The impact of the brain drain has been great, particularly on sectors such as healthcare. Millions of dollars, or even in billions, Nigeria is losing on that one. Ghana, by the way, I forgot about Ghana. Ghana is another country that joined this saga of brain drainage that our leaders signing to export manpower to foreign countries or to the Western countries. It's Malawi, Ghana, now Kenya. Okay, I just remembered. Now, the African Union, for instance, estimates that countries such as Kenya have lost billions of shillings since 2010 in training doctors who then migrate to foreign nations. Kenya is sending, look at the number, 1,500 farm workers. Oh, Kenya also followed Malawi, by the way. After Malawi sent 220, actually to be exact, 221 workers to work in the farm of Israel. Now, actually in the southern part where the conflict is, okay, near to Gaza. And then now Kenya has also sent 1,500 workers to work in the farm in Israel. I mean, okay, not surprising after watching William Ruto's statement or tweet message right after the conflict started between Israel and Palestine, in his statement supporting Israel or allying with Israel. It's not surprising, to decide to send its 1,500 citizens to the farm to fill the gaps, because nobody works where there is a war. Countries are evacuating their citizens, but ours are sending, that's the case. That's really an interesting statistics, just to give you a background on it. Now, in the migration of doctors, nurses, and other physicians has seen a decline in the ratio of doctors to patients, with the World Health Organization stating that the doctor-to-patient ratio in about 26 countries in the continent stands at about, listen to this good, 0.45 physicians per 1,000 people. That's where the ratio is, while the others are increasing the ratio for their people because they care about their people. Now, what is the solution? The solution is, in fact, what the African Union in its report suggests is that calls for the development of programs such as gender responsive economic development programs to provide gainful employment, professional development, and educational opportunities to qualified nationals in their home countries. This is what the African Union is suggesting. It also says, a comprehensive approach to migration management should be adopted. Member states and regional economic communities are urged to implement the various recommendations made in the MPFA, one of their migration policy thing, per their respective migration realities and development objectives. And moreover, policy coherence between the various areas linked to migration is key to effective migration management. That's what the African Union suggests. Okay, that's enough, to give you this migration, talking about the migration policy. So really, let us know in the comment section, what do you think of this saga of exporting manpower or encouraging the brain drainage of our skilled manpower from the continent to foreign countries, to the Western countries. It's not only to the Western countries, they do it to the Middle East and others. Okay, what do you think of that? What kind of policy these member states, African countries, should adopt to tackle this? Please let us know in the comment section, and we would like to take this discussion further. Furthermore, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and give it a like if you like what we bring you here, and please share the video. Let us spread the message to many people as possible. If you want to help us, please go ahead and donate to our PayPal account, which you find in the description section or in the pinned comment. Thank you very much again for tuning in. Your comments are valid. I don't take it for granted. I admire each and every one of you who take time to comment, to suggest, to question everything. Thanks again. It's a bye-bye for me for now, and I will see you on the next one.